How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Pain. So last time we ended the episode, it was mostly because it was a really long one. But part of me realized in hindsight that I might have overestimated just how long this section could be, so we might be right at the very end. And if that's the case, we'll read the tips and we'll move on a little bit. But I also could see this just being a shorter episode in general anyway, just because, sometimes there's no trouble with going into these blind. You don't know, and I don't know when a good place to truly end is. But my gut told me at the time that there was a lot more to this chapter still. That there was going to be a good chunk of content. So hopefully I was correct there, but I don't know. Thinking back on it now as I was loading up the game, I was like, you know what, how much you want to bet? I'm like 5 minutes away from the end of the chapter. I've been pretty good about that, but I was going to mess up at some point, so we'll have to see. Anyway, this episode, Satoko, turns out she self-sabotaged because she did the cry wolf, where she claimed her stepfather had been abusing her when he hadn't been. And so now the agency's wary of any claims of abuse, even if she were to, corroborate it. And so the chances of them, not doing anything are sadly so much higher now. Just depressing. And then we also had the conversation with Mion, where we basically told her, hey, supposedly, if you were technically involved in a secret cabal organization cult that would technically be eliminating people during Watanagashi, even if it were never provable and you wouldn't ever hear from me, could you try and make sure that it's Satoko's uncle who gets caught up in the curse this year? Pretty please, with sugar on top. I'll totally cover for you and help in any way I conceivably can. Yeah, so that was a thing. So we're gonna see how that plays out. Watanagashi's coming up, so we'll have to see how this goes. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be super interesting to see how this pans out, and we'll have to find out whether or not there's something more devious going on. Is it going to be curse related? Is it going to be people related? Is it going to be Satoko related? I'm not sure. Got a lot of theories I'm going with and rolling with, and so we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm also tired, if you can't tell. Exhausted, really. Honestly, it's been a heck of a week. I feel like I've just been kind of thrown into an emotional wood chipper, and that's translated into me not sleeping very well, unfortunately. So, yeah, we're going to have to see how that goes for this week. But thankfully, I was able to get everything done I wanted to, and the important stuff is what has been completed. That's what matters. So, all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. I guess if there's anything that's been struggling, it's been I haven't been any progress with the Baldur's Gate 3 challenge run. I keep intending to, but for these past couple weeks, I've just been so struggling just to sleep. I basically have been doing bare minimum, but I'm hoping that'll change because I really want to make some progress. And so, yeah, we'll have to see. But anyway, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Let's jump right in. All right, time for lunch. Oh, this feels gross.
5人揃ってのお昼は久しぶりだね。やっぱりこうじゃないとダメだよね。
I see, Keiichi's gonna be sitting there they're throw desks.
まったく同感。ほら、ケイちゃんも机寄せて。
Satoko brought her own desk over as well, grinning broadly. Even knowing nothing had been resolved, the exchange was pleasant and made me remember how fun it used to be.
いつまでもリカにお弁当を作ってもらっては悪いですわね。いいのですよ。サトコのお弁当を作るのは僕の楽しみなのです。
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. Do you imagine how sad it must be for Rika? Now she's living by herself in that little house. Rika-chan's such a good girl. Having such a good friend must be so reassuring.
僕に大きなハンバーグを入れて、サトコには焦げたのを入れて。サトコだけかわいそでニパー。
I take it back. Well, she's Rika-chan after all.
ほら、見て。今日はほら、オムライスなんだよ。マッシュルームとか美味しそうだよね。はう。いつもながらお見事なお手前でございましたよ。いつお嫁に行ってもおかしくない腕前ですわね。
Interesting.
あ
Eating a wife? What?
はう
Okay, calm down. What are you even implying there?
レナにお嫁は NG ワードだね。
Oh.
以後控えるように。
ほんのちょっぴり反省しましたよ。
ところでミオンの弁当はなんだよ。今日のはまた趣が違って期待大だな。
おじさんはまったりと夕べのおかず詰め合わせね。
Right, the big party.
煮
Party.
物がいい感じなんだよ。ほら、大根の色はかなりいいでしょ。
わあ、美味しそうなのです。
煮物は一晩寝かせてからが真骨頂だな。
Yeah, stew does taste best. Also, curry and pizza. They taste better when after overnight.
これはかなりいけそうだ。よってサトコの分はなし。俺が全部食って感想を聞かせるから黙って見てろ。
なんですって？私の分もおよこしなさいな。
Elbow punch, headbutt. I'll use my knees too. Ah!
密着距離まで入れば私の有利は動きませんわね。ケイチさんの分のお大根が実に美味しいですわ。
ちっくしょう。バトル開始時から密着でいきなりコンボとは無念。
Mm-hmm. Of course, it's like, we know it's all nice and play, so it's like, not actually hurting anyone. This little exchange, how long had it been? It looked like they'd ended up going with the wait-and-see approach, but maybe her uncle had realized he'd gone a little too far and would dial it back now. If her treatment improved a little, would that be a good thing? Satoko was grinning wider than I'd seen as she chomped down on her mouthful of daikons that she'd plundered from me, and did it really taste that good? Oh, fetch. Satoko was somewhat cute like that. She's somewhat cute, she looks like she's died! And just as I'd done many times, I grabbed her head and started petting it. Ow! Catch. Smack, flip, flop, clatter, clatter.
さとこちゃん？
Did she like react like defensively, like by instinct? It was so sudden that for a moment I didn't know what had happened. The back of my hand was stinging. I went to pet Satoko's head and then she hit my hand.
どうしたの、さとこ。
Satoko was scratching at her head as though a pimple or something had appeared on it and became itchy. It was so sudden, so unprovoked, I didn't understand what had happened. Oh, did she have an injury there? And he was about to touch it, and so she like swatted him away.
どうしたサトコ。
At some point, her body had been covered in a thin layer of sweat and her breathing had turned ragged. When I pet her head, did she not like it? Was that weird? Is that what it meant?
お前頭撫でられるの嫌いだったっけ？
Or maybe he's been pulling her hair. That's a form of abuse that can be very, very painful, but maybe doesn't leave a lot of marks and might not be clearly observable, but it would leave her head very pained. Once again, slowly I held out the palm of my hand and brought it close to Satoko's head. The instant the palm of my hand touched her head, there was a shock like static electricity, and Satoko began to howl. Oh gosh. Thud slam. She grabbed my arm, both her hands, as if flinging off a snake trying to cling to her. As if trying to throw away something dirty, she threw it violently. It happened too suddenly for me to react. I hit the desk behind me, and both it and I fell to the floor. The classroom fell deathly silent. I saw Satoko bellowed. It sounded like she was being in the throes of death, and she unsteadily backed away. Oh gosh. Oh, never mind. I think I know what this is. She's having a visceral... I don't even want to say. She's having a visceral reaction, like something, like it's more like a psychological, like a memory of someone grabbing her head, and there's something happening that's making her feel violently ill just from thinking about it. And the implication at the end of the last episode was that sometimes the abuse takes the form of sexual abuse. Then she threw up on all the food she'd just eaten. She vomited it all back up. She just splat. The sound of Satoko's vomit hitting the floor rang throughout the classroom.
大丈夫かよサトコ。具合でも。
I reached out a hand, she swatted away with all her might. With such extreme strength, I hit the floor again. Satoko put both hands on her head as though protecting it, groaned some more, and then took a few steps back. And then she began swinging both her hands around. Students in nearby seats were forced to evacuate. She grabbed anything within reach, bento boxes, chairs, threw them, tossed them, and flung them about.
ちょっとやめなよ、サトコ。あんた、どうしちゃったの？
She's having like a PTSD reaction. She's like reliving a horrible memory, and she's having a reaction as if it's happening again. She screamed out as if Mion's words had caused her physical pain. No one spoke a word to her. All the students were withdrawing behind us, leaving Satoko alone in the corner of the classroom. Around her there were desks and chairs all over the floor. Bento lay scattered. It was terrible. All I could hear was Satoko's ragged breaths and the voices of the cicadas. The strings of tension loosened around Satoko. And maybe she suddenly grew scared of her own actions because she stared trembling and gave a word of apology. But nobody knew just what that apology was directed toward. So for now, I decided to answer as everyone's representative.
いや、そっちこそ、大丈夫か？
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Our words didn't match each other at all. Satoko hugged her shoulders, and back to back she went. Bang. She ran into the locker with the cleaning supplies in it. Even that made her give a little yelp. The impact caused the bucket on top of the locker to fall, making a loud sound that scared Satoko most of all. She almost jumped out of her skin, grabbing a bunch of the curtain with her hands. Nobody spoke to her. They could only look, not even remembering to blink. God, so bad.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。私じゃないです。私じゃないです。
Satoko, what on earth? I stood up, took a step away from everyone, and approached Satoko.
何があったんだ？
だから私知らないです。私知らないです。違うから、もう嫌です。やめてください。許して。
落ち着けよ、サトコ。俺がわかるか？
もう嫌だ。嫌です。
Every time I took a step forward, she grasped the curtain more tightly and cried out.
サトコ、俺だよ。ケイチだ。わかんないのか？お前に危害なんか加えない。だから落ち着けって。大丈夫だ。俺はお前の味方だって。
助けて。怖いのやだ。気持ち悪いのやだ。
Suddenly, my shoulders were grabbed as I was dragged backwards. It was Rena.
ごめん、ケイチ君。ケイチ君はちょっと後ろに行ってて。
After pulling me back, she ran towards Satoko in my place.
大丈夫だよ、サトコちゃん。もう怖いことなんかないよ。
She's scared of... Is it just guys? Guys in general.
ほら、安心して。やだ。もうやだ。でも、やだ。ニーニー。助けて。ニーニー、助けてよ。
That's right to your soul, doesn't it? As she gripped the curtains and kept calling for Nini, she continued to wail about being forgiven for something and to be saved from something. What is this? Unfortunately, it's the effect. It's the punishment that she received because the Child Protective Services showed up and her uncle blamed her for calling them and punished her for it. And now she's even in a much worse state. Mion gnashed her teeth and groaned, and there were tears falling from her formerly closed eyes.
どうなってんだよ、これ。 昨日で全部終わったんじゃないのか？
No, it got worse.
今日からまた元の生活に戻っていくんじゃないのか？ミオ！ミオ！
Crash. There was a crazy sound. Ren had taken the cleaning supply locker and kicked it down to the ground. Everyone stood surprised at Ren's unexpected act of brutality. After that, Ren embraced the bawling Satoko from behind and started crying with her stifled.
レナ、どうした？
ごめん、ケイチくん。ちょっと黙ってて。
She shut up for a minute.
今のはなんだよ？どうしたんだよ？サトコから何か聞いたのか？
Shut up, Keiichi. We'll talk later.
何を聞いたんだよ？
サイナー！黙ってろって言ってんでしょ！
Yep. Rena's jaw, raw, hostile emotion hit me like a brick. It was no more than a momentary howl of emotion from Rena, but it was more than that for me. She had shown me what was behind all that emotion, what was in her heart. She's blaming you.
サトコちゃん。やだやだやだやだ。もう、やだやだやだ。許して。何もできなかった私たちを。許して。ごめんね。ごめんね。
Forgive us for being unable to do anything. Rena's words made me feel as though the blood vessels in the back of my head were suddenly all turning to ash. My vision grew distant, blurred with gray, and the world lost its color. I thought we could save Satoko. But though I knew I'd be sooner the better, I thought there was no time limit for doing that. I never dreamed that we could be too late. I'd been making a huge mistake. I thought Satoko could be hurt, but never that she'd break. It was such a huge mistake. People they break, thinking that they don't, is absolutely absurd. We need to save Satoko. We needed to save her before she broke. That fatal lapse in awareness had brought this on. Whose fault was it? That went without saying. Mine, no, ours. We all took on the duty of saving Satoko, but we were negligent to the point of laziness. In that sense, this was the inevitable result. Even if this didn't happen today, it happened tomorrow, the day after, the next week, we would have just sat around doing nothing until that day. So this was the obvious result. I slumped down to my knees, just as Mion and Rika-chan had done, and I too closed my eyes tight and couldn't stop myself from sobbing.
何の騒ぎですか？ちょっと、何があったんです？
The teacher came and her face screwed up at a terrible spectacle before her. The instant she realized the teacher was here, Satoko went through another complete change. She wiped her face with the curtain, like nothing happened, and smiled.
北条さん、これは一体何事ですか？
ちょっと、レナさんと喧嘩になってしまっただけですのよ。
Oh, that's so... It's even worse!
お弁当をめぐって、ちょっぴり大暴れなんですの。ね。
Rena did not in reply, but then even Satoko wished it. Since Satoko wished it, she nodded without strength. The rest of the class couldn't keep up with the extreme changes. We all just stared in a daze.
ちょっと悪ふざけをしただけなんです。皆さん、度肝を抜かれすぎでございますわね。
Satoko would probably sweep the whole thing under the rug. For what? Her heart is torn to pieces, so what else? You wanted your Nini to help, didn't you? But unfortunately for you, Satoshi didn't ever intend to come back. Never that easy. He wouldn't just conveniently show up and save you. So, you didn't have to wait for him anymore. You can cry, beg for help, and you can run away. Whoa!
私たちが無力だから。
I don't know. That baseball bat sounded real pleasant to me. We saw in first chapter 1 that Keiichi's a bit more capable than we like to think. Mion suddenly said. She spoke then. Those few words had tormented me countless times. These words were a spell. When I heard them, my whole body suddenly regained its calm. My emotions all slipped away like they'd never been there, like a wave departing. And then the world's color flipped inside out. My field of view expanded. My head grew remarkably cold, and I felt like my mind's volume had grown even wider than the classroom we were in. Oh, is this the curse? At the time, my soul was doubtlessly no longer in the small petty vessel of my head, but floating in the air a little above it. It was a mysterious feeling of release. I broke free of the cramped confines of my skull and stretched out my roots in all directions as far as I wanted to. It was a strange feeling, one I'd never felt ever before, an odd sensation of exhilaration. My sharpened senses caused me to transcend. My mind was sharper than the knife's edge, and I immediately decided that spending the time to let myself be crushed with grief would be an absolute waste. I erased all the garbage information in my brain. I expelled the pointless emotions presenting obstacles to action.
ミオ、お前は呪ってろ。自分の無力さをいつまでも。
If I could have taken back what had happened by crying about it, I'd have cried all day. But the fact was, this is how things had turned out. Couldn't take back what had happened. The top priority then would be to prevent the situation from worsening further than to sever the chains of misfortune. Until today, I'd been looking at things so narrow-mindedly I could scarcely believe it. Holy crap, he's probably got the crazy eyes right now, doesn't he? To save Satoko. The only thing to do was to save Satoko. The only thing I thought about. I didn't allow myself to realize the most basic, direct, and certain way of removing the source of Satoko's unhappiness. Holy crap. No, actually, I realized it yesterday. But as for the means, I'd relied on some stupid curse for some dumb deity. Never considered carrying out the task myself. Oh boy. I would obliterate Satoko's uncle. There were plenty of ways to do it. This was a task that held infinite methods. Ironically, the method of saving Satoko required mostly money. But the method of killing that man pretty much took no money at all. I could kill him with the least amount of investment. The least amount of money suited him. It was only the weight of his life. Kept eliminating needlessly worthless information from my head, replenishing it with only the knowledge I'd need to achieve my goal. I used every cell in my brain to think about how I'd kill him. The way I'd kill him didn't matter. I would allow any method from whatever time, whatever century, as long as it ended in a quick and certain death. If I were to have an additional condition, it would be to not get caught. Removing him was an act designed to return the peaceful times we'd had with Satoko. If I was arrested in exchange for the removal, then we might as well have killed each other. With only him gone, we'd go back to our normal lives. That was my supreme objective. My ultimate goal. Kill him, definitely. But definitely didn't leave evidence either. Two alternatives at odds with one another. The conditions of not leaving a trace back to me and automatically narrowed the number of murder methods. No witnesses was an absolute must. Fortunately, given the right time in Hinamizawa, there'd be nobody around. Oh my gosh. I mentally reconstructed the land around Satoko's house. The number of pedestrians, different times. The movements algorithm to the neighbors. Would I lure him out or charge at him? What would my weapon be? Where would I carry this out? Where? It needed to be somewhere I wouldn't leave a trace. When? Needed to be as soon as possible for Satoko's safety without wasting even a millisecond. This is absurd, completely absurd. When I thought about it this way, it struck me how easy the act of killing was. If I could leave evidence, it would just be, if I was just going to kill him, anyone could easily turn into a murderer. But our reason prevented that. I told us doing so would get us arrested for sure. In the end, being arrested by the police was the final thing preventing people from committing homicide. Well, I'd really like to believe that's not the case, but I do imagine that the collective social justice, whether it be through police or through, the town stoning you, like, it is probably the only real, thing that stops us when we feel like things are really, really bad or threatening. Absurd. If you went all the way to the very middle of the ocean, you wouldn't leave any trace at all. Anyone would drop those they hated into the depths. They knew that. It was all too easy to simply remove him. Oh my gosh. On that point, did you know it actually is shockingly do a Google search sometimes, the number of people who go missing on cruise ships or who go missing on sea voyages. Once you're out in international waters, people will just vanish. And the thing is, from the cruise ship wise, it's they just won't even realize until they make landfall, because they'll do a general count and then somebody will just be missing. But these companies don't want to cause stir, so they'll report the person missing, but they don't create a fuss about it. And so it's they just go missing. Even though it's very, very, very possible and very, very likely that it is an intentional removal of somebody, a targeted removal, but in a place where people just won't want to ask questions because international waters makes it very complicated. And as long as it's never reported and the person never calls for help, maybe they're unconscious at the time, nobody would know. I could leave his class right now, grab a metal baseball bat or something from the schoolyard, go to his house and attack him. The estimated time would be 25 minutes. If we wanted to kill each other, it wouldn't even be minutes. I could do it in 1,500 seconds. I knew just how much his continued existence depended on me. He was nothing. I could expel him from the world with just 1,500 seconds after making up my mind. From when I decided what to do, he only had 1,500 seconds. Actually, if I ran at full speed to his house, the number would go down even further. But he was alive. He was still part of the world at the very moment, having torn Satoko's body and mind to shreds. Why? Because I was letting him live. I was permitting him to live so he was alive. If I rescinded that permission, he would be evacuating his mortal coil within 1,500 seconds. You think I'd let you live to breathe even 1,500 seconds more seconds of air? I'm taking that permission back right here, right now. You'd better thank me for letting you live until today. However, I actually needed more than 1,500 seconds. I'm not just gonna end you. Getting back our old life is far more important. If it's only you I'll be cleanly cutting out of this world. They won't find a culprit. I'll forget that I dirtied my hands on the likes of you as naturally as I brushed my teeth before bed. So to do that, I'll make a special exception for you and give you more than 1,500 seconds. I'll give you special permission to keep on living as you have until I construct the perfect plan for your murder. Wait, Keiichi. You can't let the time go to waste. Yeah, I know. I'll kill him quickly. I'll remove him with certainty. I won't even waste much time to perfect that plan. Think back. Tomorrow is Watanagashi, isn't it? Last year on the night of Watanagashi, her aunt died. Her head was busted open by some deviant and her brain splattered everywhere. That's it. He's someone who deserves to be given death of the night of Watanagashi. Hey, Ayashiro-sama? You call yourself a guardian, but you didn't protect Satoko. Cursing Satoko's family with the damn stuff of your own business, but now you've made Satoko unhappy when she didn't have anything to do with it. I, Keiichi Maribara, hereby denounce you, the guardian the deity of Hinamizawa, a failure. We don't need you. Go back to the deepest, darkest part of your shrine this year. Besides, if you had just cursed the killing both her aunt and uncle last year, none of this would have ever happened. The curse this year is not on you. I'll be the one deciding. It won't be the three families controlling the serial deaths behind the scenes. No, not some vague people who can't tell if they're buffoons or not. This time, I'll be the one delivering divine judgment. Are you sure you're not just being like, if there is a curse and Oyashiro is the curse behind, the motivation of the curse, this is how it probably comes across. It's somebody who suddenly feels, you know what, murder is pretty simple if you think about it. Oh gosh. So don't get in my way, just watch. Stay quiet and watch. I'll obliterate him. I'll wipe him off the face of the earth. I will stomp out his very existence. Go away, disappear, and die. I'll tear your heart apart just like you did to Satoko. I'll have your blood as payment. He's yelling.
Keiichi-kun, 大丈夫?
Rena, Mion, and Rika-chan were looking after me. Had I fallen to the floor?
急に倒れたからびっくりしたよ。うなされてなかった？うなってたよ。
うるさい。黄色い声で話しかけるな。
Uh-huh. My friends gave a start and backed away.
なんだよ。
Rena and the others, they exchanged glances, unsure of what to say, and stood confused for a moment.
今の
He totally had the wide eyes and spoke like different. Oh my gosh, we're possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Holy crap!
当たり前だろ。
Rena gulped firmly and opened her mouth.
今一瞬
Oh! It is us! Oh, that's
す
so...
ごい目だった。
That's actually kind of cool. We're going to see it from this... Oh, that's really neat. I really like this. This is very interesting.
目? 光の角度でそう見えたんだろ。バカバカしい。
見間違いじゃないよ。あんな目、初めて見た。
We have, though. What were those guys talking about? They've all been too scared of me lately.
前原圭一くんだよね。
What was Rena saying? Who else could I be except Keiichi Barabara? The look I gave her seemed to speak quite eloquently to those irritated thoughts. She understood and quickly apologized.
ごめん、気にしないでね。
If anyone would be like on our side, though, it would be you if you realized that what was probably happening here, or at least use that explanation that we've seen before. That's probably the end of the chapter there, but holy crap. Oh, that's so cool. It's so crazy that I think that that's the coolest thing that we've seen so far. 1,500 seconds. Reached an epiphany. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. All right. Read the new tips. Read the new tips. We'll see how long this goes, but they're probably pretty short. Oh, emergency. June 18, 1983. Abuse incident regarding Satoko Hyojo urgent. We propose that Satoko Hyojo must be taken into immediate custody based on the items below. 1. Family situation. Life with adoptive father who recently returned to Hinamizawa has already turned disastrous as she is currently subjected to unendurable physical and mental abuse from the father. 2. Child Consultation Center response. A child probation officer was dispatched yesterday on the 17th from the Prefecture Welfare Office, but because of the 77 case, changed to continue coaching and cautionary action. Unfortunately, the consultation office held does not properly understand the situation. 3. Status of concerned child. Child already appears to be suffering from an outbreak of something close to neurosis or manic depression. If her unstable pubescent mind is negatively stimulated by stress, it will put her development of a healthy body and mind at risk. Oh, at risk! It's already freaking blown to pieces. This cannot be allowed to continue from a humane standpoint. 4. Allegations made to the family court. We propose, based on the above items, that Satoko Hyojo should immediately be taken into protective custody. She should be secured temporarily under emergency allegations to the family court of Article 28. We request emergency coordination between all related agencies. So I'm guessing that the teacher forwarded this report. And so like they're calling to try and get her out. D2-3, number 44. Children with special needs, General D2-3, number 44. Blank blank, 1977. Child name, Satoko Hyojo. Blank years old. Residence, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibon. Article 1, Consultation Circumstances. Telephone SOS from child of child abuse. Article 2, Abuse Situation. Child claims she's being physically abused by her adoptive father. Article 3, Family Structure. White mark marks abusers. White mark, adoptive father, real mother, older brother, child in question. Note, adoptive father and real mother entered family registry in 19 blank. The child is the daughter of the mother's previous husband. Article 4, Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of the child's telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked her situation. On that day, the child welfare office on duty visited the child's home and conducted an interview. The adoptive father sincerely listened to instructions and agreed to take child-raising workshops in the city from now on. As part of suggested coaching, the center will continue to observe the situation. Article 5, Other Notes. As a result of numerous counseling sessions at the city's educational consultation office regarding the child, we learned that there was a high probability that the cause of the child's excessive distrust towards her adoptive father was the result of a lack of communication. The abuse she claims hasn't actually taken place. She made a false report to distance herself from her adoptive father. Below is a note written in pencil by the person on duty at the time. The problem appears to be more with the daughter. Chief Investigator F of the city's educational consultation office said that the most of her story of abuse were likely fabrications. They decided to shift the focus of their coaching to the child. Be cautious not to take everything the child says as truth. Unfortunately, that poisoned the well for the rest of it. We're not going to continue too much longer, but we're going to hit continue. Because there's going to be some preamble up to what's coming next. So we're going to go ahead and start it. Because I could end the episode here. It'd be like a 30-minute episode. Feels too short to me. But I also don't want to get into whatever's about to happen fully, because I feel like it's going to be way too interesting So, we'll continue for now. Mion and the others, having set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we could get our peaceful days back. Hear that? It's like a bell, like chimes ringing. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Japan's police force had the highest arrest rate in the world. I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime, and it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. I've read a lot of articles on trials that people brought up on false charges. At the court, they consider what the charges are false or not, but figuring out the real criminal is entirely out of scope. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected or revered. You just had to look at the inundation of a mystery novel everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult-to-solve incidents involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of the perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes, perfect crimes were set skills of the gods. And in that sense, the serial freak deaths they were calling the curse of Urishiro-sama, I understood they must have been the works of gods. Even each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah, skills belonged only to gods, those of perfect crimes. And I would be setting up my own crime before Urishiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years in the running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. I don't know, man. I think you're working with it. I think he's just kind of going with you. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame. So this is the difference between a crime of passion, which is second-degree murder, and, homicide, first-degree murder, which is where you have intent and you plan. Kill him like a flame. But as systematic as ice. Starting now, I needed to retain both of these ideals within me. Modeling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Sometimes kidnappings involving disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as a basis for the novels of the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night, from a very long time, mystery novel authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut in planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. The only one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past to present. Every time she watched my mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her.
これまでの推理小説の中で、母さんが一番よくできたと思った完全
You're
犯罪。
ruining your chances of an alibi, bud.
母さんって結構たくさん推理小説を読んでるでしょ。
After we hear hers, I might share what mine is. I've heard one. Like, one that I think would be pretty terrifying.
そういうの詳しいかなって思って。
それを読むから楽しいのよ。初めからトリックを教えちゃったら楽しみがなくなっちゃうわ。
She's like, humor me though. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I would somehow butter her up first and draw out the answer.
そうね。よくできた推理小説。結構どれもこれもいろんな魅力があって、どれが面白かったとは言いにくいけど、強いてあげれば。
母さんの好きな小説のタイトルが知りたいんじゃないよ。母さんが一番舌を巻いた完全トリックが知りたいんだよ。
本当に完全なトリックだったら、名探偵に解く余地がないじゃない。
That was true. Then there'd be no point.
推理小説は解ける謎をいかに解くかの過程を楽しむものよ。 解けない謎だったら、それは推理小説の題材になり得ないわね。
Interesting. I just got funny, like, if it was unsolvable, it wouldn't make for a very good topic for a novel. Which is actually a bit of the trap of, like, the answer being it's the curse, is because that makes it almost, like, unsolvable, because it's just kind of like a blanket, like, oh, well, it's the curse. Like, it doesn't feel like an actual answer. So I wonder if this is also a confession of the writer kind of, like, admitting, like, hey, if it were completely unsolvable, like, I can dangle possibilities for a while, but eventually we have to have a canon conclusion. You know, just heads up.
そっか。そりゃそうだよな。主人公に解けなかったら、お話として成立しないもんな。
Well, this is also kind of funny because in the end of each of these chapters, did we actually find the main answer, or the main, especially did the main character solve it? Usually no, not even remotely. Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel is basically a game. They were written so you could get to the goal so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be an be-all end-all of tricks so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives.
ということは、ケイチ。真の完全犯罪は物語にすらならない。
Exactly.
というのがわかるかしら？
They don't become stories, they just happen. Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned ambitiously. I'd never gotten to read it, but apparently one time long ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently she was really into it.
物語にならないってどういう意味？
ケイチ、物語の最低構成要素は？
起承転結。
正解。特に肝心なのは当たり前だけど、木に当たる部分よ。
So, actually, let's think about this for a second. Do you understand that a true perfect crime don't even become stories? Yeah, because think about this. What is it like? It's actually to paraphrase the Joker in Dark Knight. What does he say in there? He says like, if a soldier is shot in a theater of war, it doesn't even make the nightly news. But if a mother is shot in a downtown park, then everyone loses their minds, or something along those lines, like that. It's like saying, like, the difference is that soldiers are supposed to die. So that's the idea, too. It's like, why do perfect crimes ever become stories? Because they sound like they were supposed to happen. So, someone who has an unhealthy lifestyle, say someone who's a borderline alcoholic, drinks too much, trips down the stairs, breaks their neck. Is anyone even going to question that? If somebody drives recklessly down the road and then dies in a car accident, is anyone going to doubt that there could have been something going on there? But in both those cases, what if the drunk were pushed from behind by, like, a disgruntled family member? Or what if the instance in the car, what if someone clips the brake, like they used to have brake chains, so like actually like the physical connection between the brake pad and like the depression brake in the car. Would anybody like look into it enough to notice that? Because it makes sense. They were notoriously for driving recklessly, or the man was notorious for being drunk all the time. If it fits the narrative, would anyone even look into it? Thus, would it even make a story? No, it'd just be a footnote in like the day of like, oh, the drunk died of alcoholism. Like, okay. The beginning, of course, is very important.
スタートの木がなかったら、そもそも物語は始まらない。
そりゃそうだよ。何も起こらなかったら何も始まらない。
そう。何も起こらないから事件にもならない。探偵も呼ばれないから推理もない。推理がないなら解決もない。つまり、これが究極の完全犯罪。
ちょっと待って。もう一度説明してくれるかな。
Oh my gosh! Wait, yeah. I think it went right over my head. Nothing happened. There wouldn't even be an incident. Detectives would never be called, so there'd never be a mystery. There would be no mystery, so there'd be no solution. In other words, it'd be the ultimate perfect crime, because the crime never started. Yeah, what'd she say? Yeah, if nothing happened, nothing would begin. My mom just told me something absurd, and she was saying it so smoothly too, so I kind of tuned her out. But I did too. I was kind of like, oh, whatever. She said something extremely important just now.
そんな難しい話じゃないわよ。そもそも事件が発覚しなければいいだけの話。
So if the genesis of it doesn't come to light, then you can't ever start an investigation. Okay.
そもそも、発覚しない事件。
つまり、例えばよ、誰も立ち入らない深い森の奥で、おじいさんが一人暮らしをしているとする。
うん。
そのおじいさんがある日、斧で殺されました。ちなみに犯人は、じゃあ、おじいさんの息子ね。おじいさんの家に来て一緒にお酒を飲んでいたんだけど、ちょっと喧嘩になって殺してしまった。
What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. It was pretty far from a perfect crime.
でもケイイチ、そこはとても深い森の中の一軒家なの。普段は絶対に誰も訪れない深い山奥の深い森の中。
Oh.
さて、殺した息子は町に帰ってきてこう言うの。おじいさんは元気だったって。
それの、どこが完全犯罪なの？
ケイイチ、この事件はね、おじいさんが殺されているのが見つかって初めて木を迎えるのよ。もしもこの後、誰もおじいさんの家を訪れなかったら、永久に木は訪れない。
I clicked early. The beginning would never occur.
だからつまり、物語は始まらない。事件が発覚しないから探偵も呼ばれない。そもそも誰も不審に思わないから謎も起こらない。おじいさんは今日も一人でのんびり森の奥で暮らしているんだろうね。で、お空におじいさんの顔が浮かんで、ジエンド。どう？こんな感じで。
Huh.
すごいじゃないか。それ、ちゃんとしたトリックだよ。
でも、娯楽小説にはならないわね。推理小説は所詮娯楽書。
Right.
完全犯罪の指南書にはなり得ないんだから。
I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash, none of them were needed for the perfect crime. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident doesn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find, it would basically already be the perfect crime. And if it happened to Watanagashi, people would just chalk it up to the curse. Of course, which is why I think the curse exists, honestly, is to be a smoke screen. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day and all of a sudden people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of Watanagashi came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. I mean, he had been living with his lover in a town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him, after all. No one would care whether he went and disappeared. Well, Satoko might, but ideally, not enough. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left getting my bike out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement and feeling the cool air on my body. Okay. Alright, I think this might be a good place for us to end. It is a shorter episode again, but the speculation here is going to get real spicy. Alright, yeah, looks like we're the curse this year. And I also really like how it's implying too that like we got the crazy eyes that we've been seeing might be this transcendent moment when people kind of forego their normal emotional inhibitions and like morality and conscious and kind of ascend into a higher level. That could be described as the demon inside them. It could be described as Oyashiro-sama's curse. Whatever it is, it looks like it's triggered by feeling like things have gone too far and something needs to be done. Basically pushing past that point where, you know, it's like us or them, fight or flight, and instead of fleeing, you fight, but it becomes like this cold and calculated, like more intelligent form of that kind of natural instinct, that very predatory, oh, you know, it's the hunter inside us. Because back our ancestors were hunter-gatherers, right? So in order to survive, we had to go and find food. Often meant killing. We could subsist a lot of our diet off of plants and tubers and berries, but it wouldn't be enough. Like our ancestors and our diets, like we had to kill things in order to survive. We're predators. We really are. And the hunt begins. And it's funny because if you think about it, most of us now, we look at things like, if most of us understand, we eat chicken and pork and cow, like we eat that. But most people would struggle to kill and prepare their own food. Most people in a modern society couldn't look at a chicken and imagine themselves killing it, plucking it, and then preparing it to devour. That process feels violent and scary. But when you grow up in a situation where it's necessary, you can overcome that inhibition and that gross, that icky feeling to kind of push forward and say like, yeah, this is what we need to do. And that's the thing I think is happening here. I think it's triggering this kind of idea. I don't know if you could call it the curse, call it whatever, psychotic break. I think it's just a breaking down of that barrier of compassion where you look at this chicken, you're like, oh, this chicken's really cute. But then you have to switch that part of your brain off to be able to take the chicken down and lop its head off in order to prepare it for your meal. It's also, unfortunately, I think part of the brain that I've seen in other people grow, when I was especially growing up with teenagers, like you'd hear stories about kids who would throw stuff at cats or like hurt animals, right? Now there's a sign of people who like torture and brutally kill things just to kill them as a sign of being a psychopath. We probably need psychopaths occasionally in history to be able to progress society and to do things. Like it sucks, but it's probably intentionally a thing. And secondly, even people who aren't psychopaths have to switch off that brain occasionally. And it's used in war. It's where you dehumanize people, where you stop seeing them as like other people who are fighting in a war and start seeing them as enemies, villains, demons, because then you can disconnect that part of your brain, or at least attempt to, allowing you to do terrible things. But unfortunately, it also perpetuates terrible crimes, because as soon as you stop seeing a people as people, you no longer see any reason to hold back. And I think that's all that's happened here. Is I think Keiichi's kind of tripped over that like barrier. Now it's made it very dramatic, but if what's happened, I think, like if I were to summarize it, I think we just unlocked the hunter in him. I think he's unlocked the part of his brain where he stopped seeing Satoko's uncle as human. He recognizes him as a human when it comes to his threat and his involvement in society, but he's disengaged seeing him as an individual person and more as an enemy or a witless like beast that needs to be put down. And that's allowing him to calmly and collectively consider disposing of him. And that's the most insane take, because I can't believe I'm like on board with this. God, maybe I'm psychotic too. We'll have to figure that out next week. So next week, the plan goes into action, or at least we see the plan playing out. It's going to get really good. Thank you so much for being here, for your patience. Yeah. This might be one of the coolest sections in all of Higurashi so far. Because after having so much dancing with this crazy madness that we've seen in other people's eyes, and seeing the mad things that they were able to bring themselves to do in order to bring about what they wanted, now seeing it from the perspective of Keiichi, and seeing it kind of him being broken by how broken Satoko's become because of her uncle, and in turn turning himself into a weapon, is so interesting. Very cool. Very cool. And that's weird to say. This is going to be one of those things where, like, clip it out of context, send it to somebody. It's going to make me look like a psycho. But hey, here we are. So thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. I certainly did. I'm very grateful to be here with you, sharing it. And I hope that you're having a good time and being able to kind of enjoy this with me. So thank you so much. And until the next video, watching me, happy to see me next. I'll see you there.